You know, if we're going for like just taking you on the journey with me and having a really honest account of how ADHD shows up for me, this is it. And so today's video is going to be a mess. I'm going to put it out there. There's not going to be a coherent structure or flow and all of that stuff because I don't have that for myself yet. And I'm not prepared to force myself into trying to do that for the sake of putting a video together. Like it's pouring out. We're just going to let it pour out. So stay with me for the ride. I hope you will. Oh, by the way, I know it dates the video. It's Christmas, but oh, you gotta love it.
Ooh, the play philosophy. This is the bit where I remind you I haven't recorded a jingle yet. Welcome, ADHD Diaries series. Ooh.
Welcome back to the Play Philosophy, or welcome to the Play Philosophy. If you've not seen me before, I am Rach, and the Play Philosophy is where I help you know yourself, grow yourself, and be yourself confidently using play. This part is slightly different. This is my ADHD Diaries series. As somebody that has just been diagnosed the last 2 months ago at the age of 30 with ADHD, I am, well, what am I? What am I doing? That is the question for this video. Funny story, haha, funny, otherwise, laugh, otherwise you're going to cry, kind of funny. Um, Since I started stimulant medication a couple months ago, I have been recording little tidbit video diaries to vlog my experience, which I then spent probably about 20 hours clipping together into a video for you that was 35 minutes long that I agonized over for ages, partly because there were so many little bits, partly because I think I was procrastinating because I felt a little bit nervous about releasing it or not. Long story short, got accidentally coached by a friend the other day. That's what happens when you hang around with coaches, and realised that actually I just want to release it. Let's put it out there. Currently using Microsoft Video Editor, which I was ready to upgrade to Adobe, but I hadn't quite got there yet, and couldn't export it. And I tried like 14 times, couldn't export it, and then what happened? Is I got back from I got back from some work drinks, a little bit tipsy, and I tried loads of other internet solutions to fix it, but there was one that said, warning, might lose your data. And I thought, fuck it, it doesn't, what's data? It'll be fine. And I lost the whole entire thing. Yeah, I tell you that because, um, although I was reasonably chill about it, what will be, will be. I'll do it again. I've got the raw footage. I've been wanting to like release something and I've been wanting to put something out there with regards to my ADHD. And that was where I'd planned to start, and now that's all been wiped out, and I'm not in a space to start spending shitloads of time editing it. I I didn't know where to begin. And there's so many like there's so many thoughts, feelings, emotions, things to express about it, and I don't know how. Hmm. I don't know how to do that succinctly. In fact, let me play a few clips of when I was trying to record the intro to the video that I lost. Get me to focus on something, and actually, a big part of that I've learned. See, I'm going down a tangent again. The tangent train is too real. That do interest me, but the novelty's worn off. That is a whole thing in itself. And I've done exactly what I said I wouldn't do, and I'm just listing things. You're just listing things, Rach. This is what I'm dealing with here, right? So I I'm struggling to do that succinctly. Um, but I'm also aware that part of like putting things into a structure for myself and doing my YouTube videos in this way is to help me will also have the benefit of helping me make sense of it and work through it. But it's oozing in me to like talk about it and put it out there, and I don't have the time. Genuinely, actually, don't have the time to make it into this whole big thing. So I thought it doesn't need to be a whole big thing. Some of the things I've had life revelations, awarenesses, understanding about since my diagnosis. I'm going to list them, and then you want to dig into them another time, we can. How ADHD affects hormones, i.e., premenstrual syndrome, how ADHD affects gut health, i.e., irritable bowel syndrome, which it has cured, by the way, by stimulant medication. Big one. Chat about that later. Uh, executive dysfunction and working memory, forgetting what I'm doing in the middle of doing it. I promise that wasn't me. Okay, this is what just happened, right? Busy brain. I said that, I didn't forget what I was doing in the middle of doing it. My brain goes, wouldn't it be awkward if you forgot what you were doing in the middle of doing it right now? That wouldn't be the first time that's happened. Wait, does this mean that you've forgotten what you're doing in the middle of doing it? You've been pausing for a really long time now. Maybe you should just go back to what you were doing. Hang on, what was it you were doing? Right? Like how are we existing on this plane where that amount of things can happen in a split second? What else? What else? What else? ADHD and cooking, driving, organizing, people pleasing, um, visualizing, coaching. I'm just saying shitloads of words, but there's loads of stuff. Creativity, sleep, relationships, impulsivity, internal restlessness, how we learn. A lot of reflections about school. What a shit show. Let's talk more. One ask that I will ask of you is part of why I've done this video is because I wanted to just connect and not be in my own bubble about like, what should I start with? What should I talk about? How do I do this? There's so many things and I don't want to lose sight of any of them. So my ask of you is, as you watch this video, anything that I mention, if you want to hear more about, let me know in the comments. Honest to God, I could explode into a million shiny pieces about most of the individual things that I'm going to talk about today. Not even shiny pieces, sometimes shit pieces, but like pieces. So let me know in the comments if there's anything that piques your interest that you want to hear more about. Let me know. Like, I'm literally like, this is me now, ready to poureth out of the cuppeth. But I thought I would just take a moment to pause and just share where I'm at right now, 3 months after that diagnosis. It's weird. It's amazing. It's life-changing. It's positive. It's confusing. It's anger-inducing and infuriating. It's like incredibly affirming and reassuring. It is many things. And oh God, I'm trying to stop myself from just continually saying like, oh, there's many other aspects to this, but like this is what we need. We need like a visual. We need a visual because I can't articulate myself. It's where I'm at right now is like I'm running erratically and wildly, but in a happy sense, through a landscape. I'm imagining like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I don't know if you've seen that film. And like there's balls of yarn. I feel like that's very American. There's loads of different coloured balls of yarn, and they're being thrown into the air, and they're everywhere. And I'm kind of caught in this web of them, but ultimately they're nice. It's a nice thing. It's soft wool, and it's all entangled, and I'm trying to find the ends of the pieces and thread them together and plait them into some kind of lovely thing. Um, but I, but it's a lot. However, half the press observation of myself that sounds incredibly overwhelming. Um, but that was right, northern. But um, it's not the overwhelm that I'm used to, and this is like a mega thing for me right now. I have learned, and I'm thinking about doing a future video on this. This is half of my journals over the last few years, and I reread some of them recently. And tell me you have ADHD without telling me you have ADHD. The amount of times I referred to an internal sense of restlessness and overwhelm that I couldn't quite place and that was paralyzing was honest to God, like, how did I get to this point without realizing? But that's a whole other thing. What was I talking about? Meatballs, yarn, and restlessness, overwhelm. What is amazing about this yarn situation with the meatballs is God, I'm sorry. If you've lost this thread by now, then kudos to you for still being here. What is interesting about that is that I don't feel overwhelmed. And that is amazing to me. Stimulant medication, amongst many things, has showed me that I am used to living in a plane of existence where I constantly feel an internal sense of overwhelming restlessness about everything. And what it's done is like it's calmed that feeling, and it's really unusual. So right now, as I explained that there's all of these pieces that I'm trying to thread together and make sense of, and it's all very worry, and I can't articulate myself, that to me used to feel like a sense of hopelessness because I couldn't see a way out of the thread and the yarn. It was like, it wasn't even thread and yarn, it was just like fog. It was just like a foggy mess of shit. See any clarity through it. And what stimulant medication has helped me to do is calm that sense of overwhelm. And so when I talk about all of those pieces right now, there's a lot of them. I've got this really weird, like angry sense of resoluteness that like I'll figure it out. And that is kind of amazing. Very amazing. And maybe the message of this video is just being diagnosed with ADHD for anyone at any time. But for me personally, at age 30, as a kind of high achiever who did well in school, never ever would have literally never even considered it until about a month before my diagnosis. But when I get something in my mind, I need to find an answer immediately, which is why I pursued it so quickly. Um, it is a confusing mess of weirdness where you kind of go, nothing about myself has changed, yet everything about myself has changed. And who am I now? And how does this work? And I'm taking medication which has helped me solve some of my most biggest struggles, but has also changed the way that I like show up for the day. And so a lot of the strategies that I use aren't working anymore because I don't need them in the same way. Like, quick example on that, I am a messy person, and I know that I'm a messy person. But my place is usually tidy because I procrastinate on the stuff that I need to do by tidying my office, or I look at my office and go, there ain't no way I'm concentrating in here with all of this mess everywhere. And stimulant medication has stopped me from procrastinating, made me more motivated to start things and focus on things, but it also means that I don't tidy my office because I don't I don't notice it's messy. So like it's thrown up all these new problems, but they're good problems. Um but it's weird and it's confusing, and I guess like there isn't really more to say, is there, about that at this point than if you are recently diagnosed, if you are thinking about diagnosis, if you know somebody's getting diagnosed, if you're not pursuing a formal diagnosis but you recognize ADHD in yourself, like, I'm with you, and it's an absolute mess. But messes aren't always like bad things, right? Like, it's a throwing paint at the wall, running around screaming, but having fun kind of mess. And sometimes you sit in the corner quietly for a minute because you're like, this is too much and kind of want to get off this ride for a minute. But ultimately, it's a good mess. Where do I end it? Where do I end this? What am I trying to say? I don't really know. Do. Welcome to ADHD Diaries. If you want to come on this wild, paint-filled meatball yarn forest running ride with me, you know where I am. Subscribe, like this video, click the bell for notifications, the YouTube things, and leave me a comment. Honestly, leave me a comment. More than anything, this video is me just being like, hey, there's some stuff going on here. Connect with me.